What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Wrestling Mat. I am Matt Camp, and I am back, and we are indeed live today here on this Thursday. Good to be back with all of you. Happy to be talking about the wonderful, wonderful world of professional wrestling. Thanks for being with me, as always. Thanks for being with me live. Yes, we did some pre-recorded episodes the last few days. I appreciate you guys taking some time with my family this week, but we have a lot to get to on the program today. We got a lot to get to tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the all-in full preview show. Today we're going to be talking about Dynamite and kind of catching up a little bit on the week because we've gotten some super chat questions in. As always, as you're joining the show, if you want to jump to the front of the line, get your super chats in, whether it be what we're talking about in context, whether it be something else. We will get to it. And I know I have some super chats to catch up on. We're going to do that on today's show. But in addition to that, if you would like to become a Matt member, and I know we have a lot more of those after what's gone on this week. Shout out to Nerdy Dude. Shout out to all of you who have become a Matt member or got a gifted subscription, perhaps, or a membership, I should say. Hey, by the way, if you want to do that, there it is right there. $2.99 a month is where we start. And those member-only live chats, that is at the right above Todd level, the Matt Camper level, and the Matt Event level. One of those is coming your way this Monday. Monday's episode at 1 p.m. Eastern. As soon as it's over, Matt members, stick around for another episode because we are going to be doing a members-only AMA. Ask Me Anything. Probably a lot to talk about, I think, as you guys know. I'm willing to discuss anything on this show. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be forthright. And I don't have to BS you guys because I think I have no interest in doing that. So with all that being said, become a Matt member if you have not done so yet because we'd love to have you aboard on any of those levels. There's a lot there to get to. You're also getting, if you're a Matt member at the Matt Camper level or higher, you're getting some of our content before everybody else. And sometimes you're getting content that no one else will see. That's how it works here at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're with us at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. It's always right above Todd. Certainly appreciate everybody here. What's going on? Chat, great to have you. Joseph, B. May, Nerdy Dude, as always. What's going on? Garrett says he was in Cardiff last night, and it was incredible. Oh, Gareth, I am jealous. When there's a great pro wrestling crowd, whether it's WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan, an indie crowd, no matter what, a great crowd will always enhance a show. And that's what I want to talk about a lot today. This show last night was enhanced so much by what I believe ended up being a sold-out Cardiff crowd. 4,500 people, whatever it was. God, I appreciate when a crowd is like that. And listen, sometimes wrestling companies put on great shows and the crowd's not with it. And sometimes crowds will lift up a bad or a mediocre show because of their enthusiasm. I think everything matched up quite well last night. Gareth, as I see here in the comments, it sounds like you had a good time. I felt that energy. And I asked you guys who watched Dynamite, or if you haven't watched yet, you know what I'd say? It's a great time to jump in right now. It's a great time if you're looking for something else, or in addition to what you watch, or you just want to say, I've heard about AEW for quite some time. Maybe it's my time. Because I've gotten a lot of comments. I think you guys know. It's a company that's, just over 5 years old. And that still means it's a startup. Ups and downs and all that. And we'll get into some of the news about AEW. But if you're watching Raw and you go, hey, I love Raw, but what else is going on? This is a good time. I would say, listen, and I'm just saying this as a wrestling fan. The show I watched last night, I saw somebody had a rundown on Reddit. I never take those too seriously, but somebody said, hey, I brought my friend who used to watch wrestling, and they became a fan. I think when you hear a show like that where there's a crowd like that, I think if you checked out a WWE maybe in the last few years, it was a great time to come back. Hell, the Judgment Day stuff is doing massive numbers. Punk's back, There's going to be up and down stuff, but there's a little something for everybody out there in the pro wrestling world right now, and I'm going to champion pro wrestling because that's what I like to do because I still love it, and I'll always love it. No matter what I've said about things that I've done in my career have gone on, I'll still come back and talk about it. So it's a great, really time. The shows are doing well. The main shows are doing well. Roman Reigns is back on WWE. AEW is about to present All In on Sunday at Wembley Stadium. Over 50,000 people. I mean, 50,000 people. And I know it was 78, 90, 80,000, whatever the hell it was last year. And of course, you want to match that. 50,000 people is great for wrestling. I'm happy that 50,000 people plus are going to be in that stadium on Sunday. I'm happy they're going to maybe see Bryan Danielson have his last match or learn more about Swerve Strickland or say, holy hell, Mariah May and Tony Storm. And my goodness, Will Ospreay. Oh, we're going to get to Will Ospreay because Will Ospreay got some advice that I was begging for months, and they did it on the show last night. But let's get into Dynamite. Love to hear your thoughts. I will say, anybody who had super chats, because I didn't have some chat access on Monday and some of the stuff has been pre-recorded, they're going to get answered today at the end of the show. But if you have any other super chats, and I apologize for the delay on those, you know I don't like to do that. But any other super chats you want to get in there about Dynamite, about wrestling in general, whatever you want to get to, a topic you want me to discuss, hit me up on the show today, and we'll get them in there. Always get you to the front of the line. Over 6,000 subscribers, by the way. Thank you so much for that. And if you haven't seen some of the stuff this week or missed it, over at thewrestlingmatshow.com, talked about the first time Vince retired back in July, a little over 2 years ago, and the backstage reaction to that. We got some questions on that. I'll get to that in a little bit. Also did my top 5 John Cena matches. My top 5 John Cena matches, and that was not an easy list to come up with. That came up, and something I was so happy to see the reaction to, my 5 favorite childhood wrestlers. And I said to you guys, I said, I hope, and I went back and watched the episode to see, just to look at the chat, not to watch myself. I hear myself enough. But I just love to see the comments of, what that nostalgia brought up and what you guys shared. And I went and checked the comments on that video out and loved seeing such varied list of people. Hey, I'm younger than you. I'm older than you. But these people connect with me. Man, I love that. That's what this show is all about. So if you haven't gone and checked that out yet, it's available at thewrestlingmatshow.com. Thank you for those of you who watched, who commented, who shared it. Always helps the show. And but I want to tell you this, because of your support on this show, we're going to be making an announcement at some point next week, I believe Monday, but something that you guys and your support made happen is going to allow us to do something else, allow us to bring this elsewhere. Nothing will be changing, I promise you that. But because of the popularity and the support and the interest in this show for the last less than 3 months, I guess it is, we're going to be able to do something else. We're going to be able to do something that I initially had wanted to do, but now we can do it, and we have that support. So I really appreciate that, and we'll be talking more about that next week, very likely on Monday, and that will not be behind a paywall. That will not be a membership thing. This is something that will be for everyone, but because of the support of members and subscribing and comments and sharing and all of that, that's going to be able to happen. And I'm not going to go crazy and tell you it's this major announcement. It's an important one for the show, and it's another way you'll be able to enjoy this show. I'll leave it at that. No, Todd is not moving into the guest bedroom. We don't even have one. Although we have some of the wedding gifts have begun to arrive, and there is a nice couch in front of me. So there you go. Scott Gatto, what's going on? Scott Gatto, the all-time WWE Trivia Champion, will never be beaten. I love it. B. May, listen, speaking of Busted Open, I appreciate that. I'm going to be on next weekend. I think I'm on next Saturday ahead of Bash at Berlin, which is also coming up. Tomorrow, by the way, going to be an all-in preview show. Also going to be talking about SmackDown because I didn't get to talk a lot about, last week's show with Roman and all that stuff and where they're heading with Bash at Berlin. And obviously Raw. I was going to go live, and that was the thing. We were going to do a live taping of Tuesday's episode on Monday night, and I had a power issue, and I couldn't do it. All that rectified. Got to spend extra time with my family and all that, but lot to talk about that I haven't talked about yet. So there you go. But let's get into Dynamite, and thank you once again. If you have a super chat, Nerdy Dude, there you go. Well, what am I doing here? Nerdy Dude, thank you for the super chat. Hey Matt, where do you want to place your Seinfeld Funko? I suggest to place it next to the set. I even told producer Dom. Well, you know what? You paid for. You know what? This is like a super chat bonus. If you would like to give me a super chat and tell me where to put things, I will move them. You can purchase the option of where to set up my set. So where can we put this? Where can we put this that is, we move Mr. Met over? Sorry, Mr. Met. I'm going to move Jerry. Newman. Kramer in front of the 1, 2, 3 kid, just as the 90s, as you expected them to go, right there. Like 1993? Oh, yeah. Kramer and the 1, 2, 3 kid, both at the height of their popularity in 1993. Really 1993 pop culture right there. Cosmo, Kramer, and the 1, 2, 3 kid. Yes. That makes sense. Wait, so Todd could be moved higher or lower? Scott, listen, with a super chat, Todd can be moved higher or lower. Now, here's the thing, though. We always say this is right above Todd. And that's one of the tier levels. So I guess he could be moved down because this would still be up. But, I mean, you want to move him into the Mets dunks? I mean, that now we're into the logo right now. So Todd can get a little movement. I'd rather say anything else can get moved around. Do you want to move my good buddy Drake Maverick? That could happen. Sure, absolutely. Roddy Piper, Kevin Owens. Should the SummerSlam hat move from 1989? By the way, I will tell you very quickly, because you know I go off in tangents. You see this here? Does anything look wrong with this hat? If you're a longtime wrestling fan, please tell me in the comments. And I'm not saying anything is specifically but does something bother you about this hat? There is something that very much bothers me about this hat. I will move it closer so you can probably see what I'm talking about. And I'm not crapping on WWE. I'm not saying that. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Scott. I loathe the fact that this exists with this. This is not the logo. The WWE logo, I get. That's fine. It's been 22 years. The F has been out. But my goodness. I wouldn't even have put it on there. I despise when they do the eagle. The eagle. It has that. It has this non-existent logo. The winged eagle has this. It's the new ones. No. It's There's some kind of Twitter account or something about that, or Instagram, or whatever it is, non-aesthetic things or something like that. Oh, here's another one. I've showed this perfect thing. He is not a block WW legend. See this logo? This is fine. This is what it's supposed to be. Kevin Owens is a WWE wrestler. He has always been. SummerSlam 89 was not a WWE show. It was a WWF show. Oh, God. I'll let it go. Joseph said he wished Drake Maverick was still with the company. He was hilarious. Drake Maverick is still with the company. He's behind the scenes. He's not on camera, but he's behind the scenes. Camera is still not cooperative. It's not cooperative? What's more on my camera? Are we having issues? I have not noticed any issues. I believe it's okay. If I did this a few times, I might have knocked it out of focus, but that's just adjusting. But I believe the camera's okay. Scott, I remember having WWF logos not seen when I was on the bump. So there was a rule. Ooh, there is a random story. The logos, because I think if you watch, there was the whole blurring thing for a while, and then there wasn't. So the rule was, and believe me, the rules have changed, and I kind of got told, you can kind of do stuff. It's okay. If the logo was in a shot, then you had to acknowledge it in a way. But that it was, I don't know. It was I'm not really quite sure what was going on with that. But there were weird rules about that. And I don't know who tracks that stuff. There was someone who used to track stuff like that, and then they didn't. But, God, that stuff was mind-boggling how annoying it was. Anyway, I hate that logo that never existed on a show that happened without it. There were rules as it related to the old logo being shown, because you remember those whole thing with the blur. Like I said, there was the whole thing with the blurring. You see it, and then they were like allowed to show it. There was like an agreement, and like when I was doing Twitch shows, I was told initially, don't watch any stuff with the old logos. Just avoid it. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, it's literally on our YouTube. And I was told, well, you're creating new content by watching the show. But it's on our YouTube. What are these? And I remember talking to somebody, and they're like, just do it. Like, it's fine. Okay. Like, I wanted to watch the Boiler Room Brawl with Mankind and Taker. I was like, well, no, it's got the F logo on it. But it's on our YouTube. What are we doing here? So those are those rules that you're like, what? Like, and I get it. That's a legal thing. That's not anybody, high up just trying to go get the F out. That was a legal thing. But those rules were so unbelievably blurry. Yeah. The Bad Bunny one, Scott. Oh my goodness. When Bad Bunny ran out with that WWF racing jacket from the late 90s, that Attitude Era jacket, which is a fire jacket. And I had heard, like, he was kind of told, like, yeah, and I don't know if it was like he was kind of told jokingly, or it was Bad Bunny, we're going to let him do whatever and we'll handle it. But they definitely had to work around that on the edit. I'll tell you that. That was definitely a thing. They definitely had to do that. All right. Anyway, there's your logo history. Let's get into Dynamite. Once again, get your super chats in there. Rob, there you go. This is a great stat. World Wildlife Fund revenue, $433 million in 2022. Maybe TKO could finally buy. I mean, that's a great number, isn't it? The World Wildlife Fund is bringing in $500 million? $500 million? What are they doing? Where are those funds going to? Does that mean pandas are saved? And I'm not like, listen, I am a humanitarian. Where does $500 million go to from the World Wildlife Fund? Holy shit, that's a big number. What if Tony Khan bought them? Scott, listen, I have made a lot of conversation here about PR teams going after other companies and all that stuff. If you didn't laugh at that happening, if Tony Khan, even if he contributed, I'm happy to contribute to the W. Oh, wait a minute. How great would it be if Tony Khan was the first one in years to legally be able to say WWF on wrestling television? Folks, I just want to say I'm happy to be here, and I've also made a contribution to WWF, the World Wildlife Fund. Totally legal. Years and years and years, people couldn't say it or get blurred out or bleeped out, whatever, and then he would get that would be fun. That would be fun. The name on the contract says McMahon. Actually, no, it doesn't. It says Khan. I have just purchased the WWF. Yeah! Founded in 1961, works in the field of wilderness preservation and the reduction of human impact on the environment. Okay. Fantastic cause. What do they do with $500 million? That's all I'm saying. Where does that go? 5% of the Jaguars' value. They can swing that, yes. The future of wildlife rose solely. This is the Vince thing right after the Double J thing, right? Ooh, gross hands, right? You see those hands now, you're like, ugh. Did he wash those? It's weird that Vince was kind of a germaphobe when you know what's going on, right? It's weird. Allegedly. I really want to hear Tony Khan say WWF on AEW television because he can. I think that would be funny. That would play into like some MJF promo too. Okay, Dynamite. The crowd started hot, felt it, and they go with the TBS title match, the contract signing. The first of two times in the night where no contact was supposed to be the case. I thought, the crowd lifted this entire show. So that was always a thing. If you tuned in last night, hey, I might get the pay-per-view this weekend. If you tuned in last night, how much did the show push you to getting the show? Because I had a discussion last week on Busted Open. We talked about it here a little bit, where I thought last week was a middle-of-the-road show. I don't think it made me want to buy the show if I wasn't going to. I think it would have been like, we'll see. Britt and Mercedes had their best segment since Britt came back at Forbidden Door. I loved the line, "You're one of four, I'm one of one." Well delivered. Could come off corny if it came in a bad way or not in the right way or not in a clear way. Very strong. Mercedes is very much in her own world. Sometimes I think that could be a little bit too much. Sometimes I think it fits her personality. I think it's very telling. And I think it plays better now. That CEO, C is for a heel. I don't like that as a babyface thing. I don't need to be told to chant something over and over again. But as a heel, when you're like, I'm the greatest, I'm so great, I have my own chants in my theme song, that works. That works so much better than on a very forced call and response. Britt gets it. She gets her own DMD. She does do this every single time, which is a little much for me, but that's pro wrestling. Good segment, good heat, getting after Camille. We're going to get to something I predicted or wanted later on in this episode, but I had wanted Camille to pay-per-view. I actually talked to Dreamer about this. I talked to somebody else about that too. Who else did I? Zigman. Maybe not Dreamer. Maybe Dreamer, but definitely Nick Nemeth, who, by the way, is so damn good at this. He is so good at talking about wrestling from someone who's done it for 20 years and is a very self-reflecting person on that. I can't tell you how much I enjoy working with him on Busted Open. I'm hoping we get him on here at some point. I really, really think he's good. And obviously TNA champion. Saw him with JBL over the weekend in AAA. I am trying to get a piece of news confirmed based on that JBL appearance. I have not been able to do so yet. I'd also like to get JBL on the show because him and I are actually pretty friendly. We did some work together in WWE. He was, I was won over by him. Let's put it that way. I know there are people that didn't like him for a time, and certainly he might have fed into that. I had nothing but great experience with him. He also gave me a bunch of wonderful recommendations when I went to Bermuda with my fiance last year. And by the way, I have crammed more vacations in the last year in my life than I've been the rest of my entire life, which is a shout out to my fiance who makes that kind of stuff happen. But JBL lived in Bermuda and gave me all these great, I asked him, hey, I'm going to go there tomorrow. What do you think? And he gave me like this massive list. And it was cool to see him at AAA with Nick Nemeth on the match against Alberto El Patron. And JBL had a very similar duster jacket to what he wore as Justin Hawk Bradshaw. But once again, there's a tangent for you. But I agreed with Nick. I would have saved Camille for the pay-per-view. And have her be more than the equalizer, insurance policy, whatever you want to say. That's someone who could have shown up with her size, and the announcers go, "Oh my goodness, look at the size! Oh my, she is just decimating Britt," that kind of thing. But they did it beforehand. I think the surprise factor of it and Mercedes using her to her advantage might have been something that would have played better as a debut at the pay-per-view. But I digress. Sorry, copyright Taz. They've gotten the match in a good spot. Nerdy dude again. Let's get this in here. Just want to say I love you handle trolls in your comments. Your humor is exactly like mine. Thank you for making me laugh. Yes. If you are commenting on the videos, you almost always get a response from me. And if it's something where people don't have listening or reading or visual comprehension, and or they just ape what the old wrestling podcasters say about wrestling, if I see pockets, you're an idiot. If I see Outlaw Mud Show, you don't have a single original thought in your head. And I will call you out for that crap. Because woof. But I will have fun with you in those comments. And you will think you get to me. See, Dennis, it is better that you don't know who Pockets is. I'm sure someone will tell you in the comments shortly. An old wrestling podcaster calls a certain wrestler Pockets. And then sticks with that because it's a gimmick on his show. And most wrestling shows with old wrestlers are gimmicks. It's funnier when the person says it who created it, not the people who ape him and go, "Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm going to call him that too." It's not original. Pockets was on the show last night in a backstage. Chris Jericho, Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington, excuse me. I will say one thing about the Jericho stuff. It seems like because of the intensity of the Hook feud, that Jericho has dropped the problematic voice he was doing for this character. He still does "Hi guys," which is a heat magnet, or "Hey guys," whatever the hell he says. Ooh, I actually got douche chills saying it, which might be the point, by the way. But the rest of it has gone by the wayside. Big Bill, I think, is very good in his role. I think Brian Keith's kind of finding his way. When he commented on Wembley, I popped for what he said. I don't know if I'm supposed to, though. I'm supposed to hate those guys. And they had a decent match. And Jericho got the promo, and here comes Hook and all that stuff. I'm not super enthused about it, but you knew Jericho was going to be on this card, so he should get his comeuppance, and we go from there. Tony Storm and the former Paige Saraya. I know she was on the show last year. I know she's from there. I'm happy that Saraya was not forced onto All In. It was not forced. And that's good. It wasn't forced. Because you don't just deserve to be on the show because you're from somewhere. I am happy that I'm happy. I get why she was on the show last night against Tony. Don't know if it needed to be a title match, but I don't think you needed to force her on the show. You didn't. I don't think she would have moved tickets. I don't think the response she got last night was anything of like, "Oh, that's a big star," or "We're glad she's back." That's just where she is right now in the show. I kind of like Harley Cameron. I think she's funny. She had a great promo on ROH pre-tape a couple weeks ago with Rachel Ellering and ate her alive. Absolutely ate her alive. She's funny. She's quick. There's something to her. She wrestles when she needs to, kind of thing. But Harley is, and I know this because she was around WWE, because she was married to somebody who worked there, Zion Quinn. I knew a lot of people who knew her. Very hardworking. Did the Iconics or what were they after that? After the Iconic. Oh, the Inspiration. She did their theme music in TNA. She did stuff with The Party. She's very talented. There is something to having someone like that around. And her charisma is great. I agree. Toni Storm, super over. They did the World of Sports stuff. God, that did not work with a lot of people. I knew what they were doing. I get the homage to World of Sport with the kick in the leg, and I don't know who that connects with, even in that crowd in 2024. It also looks slow because it was slow. Whatever, not that big of a deal, but I get it. People looked at it and were like, wait a minute. And I was like, wait, is this an NXT level up match here for a second? Like, it was that level of slow. But I don't think it's like, hey, that's a cool spot that I remember. Like, no, it's not like that. You pull, like, Sol Ruca and Kalani Jordan did a bunch of Ospreay and Ricochet stuff, as they should. They're those kind of athletes. People saw, holy hell. Like, call back to that. Call back to Piper and Brett at WrestleMania 8 with that finish, the flip over the rope. Call back to Brett and Owen at WrestleMania 8. And I even think that's pushing it. That's 30 years ago. The Brett Owen finish, the blocked victory roll at WrestleMania 10 to open the show, the greatest opening match of all time. Like, that's 30 years ago. I don't know if I'd call back to that. People would get it. But the World of Sports stuff just... Anyway, the good thing was Toni won. The finish was on the money. Clean as a whistle. It's the right thing to do. But what I liked was Toni let her guard down in front of her adoring fans. A place where she made her name. The European wrestling scene. And she was happy for a moment. And Mariah jumped on her, which I liked. Like, it, Toni had big victory over who she beat. Think about last year, losing the chance, you know. Think of who won, who walked out with the title last year. But she let her guard down because people were happy, and she was happy, and Mariah jumped on her. And I loved when she laid her out. Toni had a very, very lifeless expression on her face. Wiped out. Mariah is so locked in on what she's doing. And think about where she was when she started about a year ago and where she is now. She was the shy understudy. She was adoring of Toni Storm. And it was so good to see how much she's evolved and to get to this killer mentality that she's gotten to. And she was on Busted Open with us last week, and she was so good. Go listen to that podcast. Go find that clip. She was so good at working in and out of character. We talked to her about her influences and how she came up and all that. But still, Mariah May, who you see on TV, was present throughout the interview. And she could talk about her upbringing, but always brought it back to Toni in a way that is not easy to do. MJF has been doing that on, a lot of his media throughout his entire career, where you go, yeah, he's talking about some stuff that's outside of what he's doing on TV, but that character is talking about that stuff. That is not an easy thing to do. Finding that gray area where you go on these shows and they're like, so what's this program been like for you? And I didn't want to ask that question. You can talk about that stuff way after. But I don't think it's right unless they want to, or it's okay to take them too far. I don't want to know all that stuff as it's happening. That's why wrestling is so different. Well, movies Movies are shot and finished for months and months and months and maybe a year before they go out in the media and talk about them. They're done. I think it is tough for wrestlers to go on and do interviews and talk about their current stories without kind of ruining the story or taking you out of it. Like, I didn't like that Nia did an interview recently and was like, well, I know Bailey is natural, but I had to make the BBL comment because it was a good thing to say as a heel as she's getting ready for a pay-per-view. I don't want to hear that. Tell me that story when you're not feuding with her anymore. Tell me, I don't think that helps sell matches. I don't think that's why wrestlers are doing media. They're trying to sell the show. And they're selling it within the story. If Ryan Reynolds wants to go talk about Deadpool with Hugh Jackman and talk about his enemies or whatever the hell it is or who he's battling in the that's fine. It's done. It's over. People are seeing it. This is ongoing. And that's wrestling is so unique in that way. But Mariah did so well, and B-May just noted her and Thunder got a little heated. That was an awkward thing to deal with as well for me. Thunder's in the company. Mariah is a major heel. Thunder just, won her feud with Deonna Purrazzo. Go watch that bull rope match if you haven't seen it from Collision a couple weeks ago in Arlington. And, they kind of worked it a little, I think, on the fly of like, hey, I'll take you out too, and I'd love to face you. And listen, Thunder is a big fan of that program because I talked to her about it, and you can hear it in her voice. And honestly, if Mariah were to win on Sunday, I think Thunder makes a lot of sense as a babyface challenger in the first couple of defenses. That makes all the sense in the world. But Mariah is so locked in on this, and she's done such a good job, and she is so in tune with what she is doing. And I'm not supposed to give him credit, but you know who's helping writing this, because he has told me I'm not supposed to give him credit, and he doesn't want other people to give him credit. But the person who is helping write a lot of this, who once hosted a WrestleMania After Dark, is doing a great job with them as well. But he'll yell at me if I say his name. But you know who it is. Anyway, they have done such a good job, and that feud is right where it needs to be. The conglomeration, which is my favorite, I called it my favorite faction of fun because that's what they are to me. It is so ridiculous to see Orange and Mark Briscoe Kyle and Willow and Tomohiro Ishii just standing there as a group. And all I want to know, and if someone from AEW, enough of you know me, and I have friends there, can someone, I won't even tell the story on here. I just want to know how the conglomeration was explained and pitched to Ishii. One of the most stoic, badass wrestlers, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, standing next to Kyle and Mark Briscoe and Orange and Willow. I just want to know, does he chime in with ideas? Do they just tell him to stand there? That dude's got ridiculous training. Some of the greatest matches you'll ever see. He's one of the best workers you'll ever see. And it just works. But I just want to know what the conversations are like for conglomeration segments with Ishii. And if you did not see it, by the way, and they call him Big Tom, they put it up on social. Statlander training Stokely at Create a Pro for the match at 0 Hour, which is Chris and Stokely versus Willow and Ishii, and winner of that picks the stipulation for their match at All Out. So they're building to the next pay-per-view, which is great. But the funny thing is they show Stokely training. Stokely has training. Stokely was trained by Claudio Castagnoli. I that's not this big secret, but I don't think it's well known. But he has said that. So they were showing him training, he hit a nice crucifix and he hit a good body slam and he hit a good suplex. He's gonna do none of that to Ishii. But I am so happy because Stokely wasn't on the show last year. And I'm happy for Willow, and I'm happy for Chris. And I know people are like, wow, why aren't they doing a single match? Well, they're going to get 2 matches out of this. They're all going to get to wrestle at Wembley. Either they're going to do Willow Stat because you got to build for a pay-per-view that's 2 weeks after that. Now, they didn't say that initially, so I understand why people are like, what the hell? Like Chris and... No. But here's what I'm asking from Wembley Stadium. And maybe I don't even have to ask. I want Ishii to tag in, and I want Stokely to tag in. And I want the crowd to give it the reaction that they gave to Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega at Grand Slam a couple years ago. Just an absolute parody of a dream match. I want that. He is going to get so smoked by those forearms from Ishii. Like, Ishii does the... Stokely's got to throw the first one. Ishii throws the second. End of the back and forth. Ishii also hits a brain buster as a finish, so Stokely, a little padding up here, buddy. It's on 0 Hour. It's a fun match. Okay, let's get to the Ospreay MJF stuff. And Nerdy Dude, yes, I have seen all of the Hey E-dubs or Hey E's. Hey E. I've seen them all. The one this week with Ricky Steamboat is so good. And they don't have an episode this week. They don't do it on pay-per-view weeks. Go watch that. It's so good. Ospreay MJF. The babyface, I know he's not from Cardiff, that home area reception for Will Ospreay is everything you could possibly want it to be. That is a guy who is over. He's getting that reaction no matter where they're at, but that's one of those, that's one of, you can go, that's one of the guys right there. I could see it. I loved Ospreay popping for MJF's reaction from the crowd. As soon as his music hit, they just booed and he left. And they went back and forth, and it's 2 very different people and where they come from. And I love that Ospreay, like, he's proud of wrestling. He's proud of the wrestling he's done. He's proud of his journey to get there and everything he's done. And he said, you have never been an inspiration for people to do this, which is true. I shouldn't say it's true. But I like that line from Ospreay to MJF. That's what I want to be to people. That's what I am to people. You're not that. And MJF is not trying to inspire anybody to be a wrestler. He doesn't care. And he said, these people are stupid because they care about your matches. Which is a little bit of an inside line, but I like that. And then Will hit such a good line. It took 4 years for these people to care about you, for you to get over, is what kind of what he was saying. For me, it took 4 beats in my music. Boom, and he got him. And then MJF, and this is the MJF that needs to stick around, not the one that gets every shot on everybody. He said, they loved me until you ruined it. And then Excalibur said, uh-oh, he said the quiet part out loud. The jealousy came through. The heel ate it. The heel admitted it. He looked bad. He said too much. That's what it should be. I don't want my heels getting all the good lines in. You got to be able to give something back. You got to be able to put the egg on your face. And then MJF turned it back around. Talked about Will and his stepchild and who he's married to and, went personal. And then they played into what we all know. Hey, Tony Schiavone, isn't Tony Khan in your ear? What's the fine if what did he say? Oh, I don't remember what he used the way to say how he hit him in the face. It's 100 pounds sterling or $127,000. Okay, cool. Boom. And what I like about that is if we're talking about people who are the biggest stars in the company and we're hot free agents, that means they're making a bunch of money. So Will goes, you know what? I'm here. I don't like this guy. He said this about me. I am making a bunch of money. It's worth it. Boom! And he hit him. And then MJF took people out with the ring and all that stuff, and boom, 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 boom. You tease the Tiger Driver, you don't do it. Now, I'll skip to later because that kind of closed this up. Something I pitched when it very well seemed like this is going to happen. I said, you know that Ospreay has to hit the Tiger Driver. They've been building that since he hit it on Bryan Danielson and injured him. He didn't pull the trigger on Swerve. He didn't pull the trigger on MJF in the first time. You're going to Wembley. It's a rematch. He's got to do it. You got to go all in to win it all in. And all I asked was, there's one person who's got to tell him that. Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson, who says he needs neck surgery, who is going into the most important, maybe final match of his career, and not going in at the level he needs to because of Will Ospreay, who beat him with the Tiger Driver. He's got to be the one that tells Will Ospreay, you need to use it. And last night, and I admittedly read the spoilers during the afternoon, he's getting checked out. There's blood coming down his face. All that stuff. I thought it was weird that Renee interrupted the doctor check him out. Why can't she wait? And Danielson went up to him and said, do it. And reiterated, do it. I was so happy to hear that. It is such the right move to have the guy who got put down tell Will Ospreay, you need to do it. It's what he needs to hear. If the guy who you put down with it, who was walking into maybe his final match at less than 100%, knowing he needs neck surgery because he was hit with that move, tells you you need to do it, he doesn't need to hear anything else. And it was put at I said, do it on the last Dynamite or do it on the pay-per-view before the match is going to happen. He got the stamp of approval, the push that he needed. And I believe that he will hit that move and beat MJF at All In. Hangman's in the gauntlet. Good. For the right reason. We're not getting Hangman and Jeff Jarrett. I'm kind of surprised by that. No spoilers for the rest of the shows that were taped last night. But Hangman being in the gauntlet, because why? Because he's got to get to Swerve. And this is how he's going to do it. I was told he was banned from the building. He was going to leave, and Ray catches up with him. And he sees Evil Uno. Oh, no, good to see it. We saw the tiniest, not real, glimpse of the old Hangman. And then he hits his friend in the head with the top of a chair. And oh, my God. But the best part was that he dragged his bag over him. Because you're just in my way. You're just in my way of getting to Swerve. One day that'll come back around. And we're going to see Hangman repent or be upset for what he did. But if you're in his way right now, it doesn't matter who you are. You're getting taken out, even your former friend. Okada and Claudio, I thought it was fine. I don't think it was amazing. I think there's a lot left to do with them. Obviously, it was going to set up. I was surprised Okada didn't go over. Think I would have pushed that a little harder. Think I would have pushed Okada a little harder, but it was a backdrop for the Bucks to come out and get the heat. They set up the tag, which is a good mix of everything. Get some big stars on the show before the main event segment. Claim come out after. All that stuff was good. How does this segment end? With the Acclaimed, FTR, and the Bucks, who are in a triple threat for the tag team titles, and with Billy Gunn hitting his catchphrase from 1998. Now, the crowd popped for it, so what the hell do I know? Why is he the last voice in that segment? He's a producer. It's not about him. It's about those three other teams. He's literally in a team that's known for talking. That could have been an off-camera thing. I don't get Billy Gunn having the last word on the go-home show of a pay-per-view that he is not wrestling on in that match. Bad positioning. Okay, main event segment. Bryan and Swerve. Nigel being in the middle. I like some local flair. I work with Nigel. I understand that he's going to stir the pot correctly. Let's get as much sympathy on Bryan Danielson as we can heading into the pay-per-view. So he puts over Swerve, and you're the overwhelming favorite, and his next, he gets all the Nigel was not too involved, but clearly biased. I think that can teeter on a little too much at times, but the idea is to shit on the guy who people should love. This is an outstanding segment. This is how you sell a pay-per-view. Swerve making a point saying, I'm putting Bryan Danielson down for good. The confidence that he exudes. Still got Swerve's house chance, because I do believe he will be a babyface coming out of this match, win or lose. And should be, because he's over. But he's not losing his edge. And I think there is a respectability to that. Oh, you think when this is over, you're going to hide behind a man? I'll be in the streets and I'll take you out. Oh, you're going to work some indie? I'll be there. I'll take you out. You love wrestling that much, you'll keep trying to do it? No, you won't. The stipulation is forever, and I will enforce it forever. I like that. That was a little bit of an addition there to the whole thing. And Bryan comes right in because he's so pissed off and he hits the knee. And Swerve bails. And it's just Bryan. And it's what they were building to the entire time. It's what Jeff Jarrett wanted out of Danielson. It's what Eddie Kingston, who cut a great promo from his couch as he recovers from a knee injury, who hates Bryan Danielson, told him he needed to do. And the fire in his voice and in his eyes and in his actions that we saw a glimpse of with Will Ospreay came completely out in what might be his final appearance in the company on Dynamite. I'm the best fucking wrestler in the world. And that is how you use a swear to your advantage, a swear in the right spot, a bleep. He said fucking, you knew what he said. It's like when Christian did it, go fuck yourself. And I've been that way for the last 20 years. I'm the American fucking dragon. Absolute fire coming out of the American Dragon. Why? Because he had to get to that point. He had to be pushed there. And maybe Swerve's pushed him too far. Maybe Swerve has made a mistake in pressing all those buttons, thinking he's getting inside the head of Danielson. But instead, pushing him to where exactly he needs to be heading into a match where he can win the championship he's been after for the very first time or lose his career. This has been an excellent build. It is the main event. I truly believe it has moved a lot of tickets since it was announced. And there's no necessarily metric for that, but I do believe it's moved a lot of tickets since it was announced. And why wouldn't it be? Because we really don't know. He might be done on Sunday. Which is a wild thing to say. That Bryan Danielson's career might be over on Sunday. He is that kind of guy. That he was, no, that's it. I told you I'm done. I'm done. I remember having this feeling when Shawn Michaels lost to Taker. I didn't believe it. Yeah, he came back the one time, whatever. But there was no multiple comebacks. It wasn't Terry Funk. It wasn't Mick Foley. Wasn't Flair. He was done. And I don't think that realization hit me until the night before that WrestleMania 26. I'm in it a little bit more now. I don't know if you guys are. I'm in it now. I know I might be watching Bryan Danielson's last match on Sunday. They've been able to tell that story quite well. All right. A couple minutes left here. Let's get to some of your I'm pulling up the chat from Monday because I have some super chats here. Nerdy Dude, speaking of which, what was your personal opinion when the allegations happened? Did you think not unlikely or maybe something actually true? You're talking about the allegations on Vince. This is from Monday's episode when Vince retired for the first time. I think I wasn't surprised. I'd heard enough. I'd heard enough from people who work with him. I wasn't surprised. I don't know if I can really say much more than that. What was the backstage reaction when Vince retired? Like the air got a little lighter. Like the eggshells were gone. Like you didn't have to worry about things changing on the fly or the whim of a madman. Shout out to Speed and Dennis Hopper. Some people were upset. Some people, and listen, I'm sure people who were a Vince push, just based on him being gone, just based on that, creatively alone. I'm not going to talk about anything else. Some people lost their way because of that. I think that was all of them. There might have been one more. I think it was Rob Dog, which I don't see. But if you have that, dude, please hit me up again. I will answer that on a future episode. We did the top 5 John Cena matches. Oh, I was reminded. Brock walked out, which we did talk about on Monday. But then he came back. He was talked back in. Brock left the day Vince retired and then came back. He was like talked back into it, but he was not happy for God knows, obviously he came back and he worked the match with Roman and all that stuff. And he's done a lot of good stuff in wrestling since then in terms of like the Cowboy Brock character and being by himself, all of that. Absolutely. Don't think there were any. I'm looking on the Tuesday show very quickly, seeing what we had on that one. And I apologize for some of the technical issues on the Tuesday show. All right, so that was it on that one. I think we got some of those in, but yeah, those are the super chats from this week. But if you have any more, certainly Monday is a really good time coming off of All In. And don't forget, and I'll remind you, it's a good time to become a member here at the Wrestling Mat. Why? Because we are doing an AMA on Monday. We're going to do the live episode at 1 p.m. Eastern, as is. Talking about All In, fall out of that. But if you're a Mat member, here's what you get. And if you're a Mat member at any level, you get to be part of the members-only live chat. The Ask Me Anything on Monday. We are going live right after the typical 1 p.m. episode with a members-only live chat AMA. That is coming your way on Monday. So become a member. You could be part of that. You can ask me literally anything you want. And you know I answer it. I think I have made that clear in the last week. Oh, my goodness. Nerdy Dude. You do it again? 5 Wrestling Mat memberships. There they are, folks. Nerdy Dude is taking care of the people. But make sure you check it all out at thewrestlingmatshow.com. Check out our episodes from this week. Tomorrow is a full All-In preview. We'll get into a SmackDown a little bit. And I look forward to talking All In with you guys on Monday. So make sure you're back with us tomorrow and every weekday right here at the Wrestling Mat. We'll be back to talk about wrestling even more. See you tomorrow, everybody.